Welcome to our webinar Wednesday. My name is Kirsten Stephen. I'm an Assistive Technology and Additional Support Needs teacher here at Call Scotland. I'm delighted this afternoon to be joined by Rebecca and Annie from Therapy Box. So a very good afternoon to you both. Rebecca Bright, MBE, is the co-founder of Therapy Box and is a speech and language therapist with extensive experience developing assistive technology and educational tools. And she's joined this afternoon by Annie Galvin, who is a project manager at Therapy Box. And Annie supports the design, the testing, and also the implementation of therapy-focused digital resources. And she's been closely involved in shaping the Colourful Semantics apps that we're going to see this afternoon. I'm really excited to hear all about them because Colourful Semantics was a concept that I used regularly in my classroom with a lot of learners that found sentence structure quite challenging. Today's session is being recorded and the recording link will follow today's webinar to everyone who registered, including those who are unable to join us live. I would ask you to please ensure that your mics remain muted throughout today's presentation, and if you don't want to be in the recording, then just make sure that your camera is turned off. If you wish to have live captions displayed throughout the webinar today, please go into your language and speech settings and turn this on, and you will also be able to view closed captions on the YouTube recording. The webinar is going to run for approximately 20 minutes and then there will be an opportunity to ask questions. If you do have any questions while Rebecca and Annie are presenting, please do type them into the chat and I'll keep an eye on it and then we'll facilitate that at the end. And I will now pass over to Rebecca and Annie. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for that. Thank you for the introduction and for having us come and present today about the Colourful Semantics apps. Annie and I are both very passionate about them, so we do hope we can pass some of that on. But I did think it might be helpful to gauge a little bit about people's experience with Colourful Semantics as a concept, and also to understand whether people are currently using it perhaps in the classroom or with individual learners. So if you can use your React button or tool in Teams and maybe to give a thumbs up something you're familiar with, and then well you can decide on the which other of the reactions you want to use to indicate how experienced or your thoughts on Colourful Semantics. So you've got a few options there. You've got a thumbs up, a heart, a clapping, delight, and shocked. Oh, someone's shocked. Good. Okay. So some thumbs up for sure about being aware of Colourful Semantics. So that's great. And it is a tool that is used quite widely, isn't it? And has been used for a number of years. I might get Annie to move to the next slide. Thank you. So Colourful Semantics is an approach which was originally created by Alison Bryan, and it's really been designed to help children develop their sentence structure and their sentence building. And while it might feel like it's a grammar tool, it's actually rooted in semantics or the meanings of words. And I think that's one of the particular features of Colourful Semantics that's worth noting. So it's not necessarily about the rules of grammar and syntax directly, but it's really related to the meanings of words and how those come together to build a sentence. So that's really key. And Alison created Colourful Semantics quite a while ago, but is happy for the concept to be used in lots of different ways, as long as people have sort of undergone the training for it, to use it in the right way. And as I said, really with that semantic underpinning being quite key. So it's been around for a number of years. So it's very straightforward, and I think that's why it's a popular technique used across schools and other settings as well. And the key is that, and what most of us would have done before having an app, is to create sentences by cutting up a a sentence into each of their thematic roles and then color coding them. And we're really just today going to stick to the 4 main key color coded stages. But there are ways to move beyond the 4 preliminary stages as somebody progresses. So you've got orange, and it's always orange for the who. Then you have yellow for doing. So typically what we would call a verb. Green for the what, and blue for the where. But as I said, there are also opportunities to use colourful semantics more broadly, using adverbs, adjectives, conjunctions, and negatives. So you can expand it out, but a lot of what happens with colourful semantics, I think, happens with these 4 key stages. So what we did was have a look at how we could build some different ways to provide opportunities to practice and use this approach in the classroom or at home. And so we've got a series of 4 apps, and Annie's going to talk to you about them all in much more detail. But just to give you a little bit of an overview, we have what's called Colourful Semantics Classic, which really is the colourful semantics that you would know and love, and what you may use in the classroom or elsewhere with a photo, and then you've cut up the parts of the sentence to go underneath. So the who, the what, and so on. So each of those 4 colours in the sentence. So we've built in a whole range of contemporary photos, very multicultural photos that you can use in this way, as well as pre-preparing all of the cards that go alongside that. So we've got the classic option, and then we have 5 more apps. So different ways that speech and language therapists told us they might also reinforce this learning in the classroom, and some fun ways to do it as well, to really just to provide variation, to probably help with consolidation of skills, or to target areas that might be particularly difficult. So the next option we have is sorting, which has 4 mailboxes, which are coloured in the Colourful Semantics 4 key colours, and you can sort the cards into each of those. We have Silly Mix, which is a fun way to really just play with colourful semantics and make your own sentences, and Annie can tell you more about that, but that's quite fun for more exploratory play, and can be lots of fun as well. It's very flexible. We've got Fill in the Gaps, where you need to type in the missing word, and they're all color coded as well. So perhaps trying to then start working on some of the written or typed in input. We have a sequencing option, so getting those words in the right order then, so to make a sentence in the sequence that makes sense. And then finally, find words. So in this one, the task is to take one of the highlighters on the side, which again are all in the different color coding, and highlight the words that belong to each class. So in this case, then we are extending down into the next level, beyond just the first 4. And as we are also, you can see that in Silly Mix as well. So opportunities to really extend and carry over some of the skills that you might start with Classic with. Okay. So you're able to, this is sort of just explain how to get them before Annie goes into a deep dive into each of the apps. You can buy all of them as a bundle, and on the App Store that works if you choose them all together, you get them for a discounted price. So that might be something to consider if you're interested. But I will now hand over to Annie, who's going to give you a much more in-depth understanding of each of these apps one by one.
Yep, so the plan is to just go through each one. There's little GIFs on screen to try and show how it works. The quality isn't amazing, but hopefully it gives you a general idea. So each of the apps starts in the same way. So you just have a normal screen. You choose the activity you want to do, and then you enter this like gameplay screen. So the aim with the Colourful Semantics apps is to keep them as simple as possible. So they're very easy to use and they're very simplified. So you can literally just plug and play. So with Colourful Semantics Classic, there's a large photo in the middle of the screen, and then below there are 4 areas where you can drag the correct cards in to make the full sentence. So that's with the same who, doing, what, where color codings as throughout the whole set of apps. So each draggable spot is a different question. So we mark each of those, and I'll show you the report later. But it's all tracked as you go through, and then there'll be another photo and then 4 other options to drag them into. So that's classic. Sequencing is much the same, but just without the support photo. So the cards are larger, you can see the symbols more clearly, but that support photo is taken away to just move forward a little bit in terms of the I guess progression of how someone improves with Colourful Semantics. So that is sequencing. Silly mix is a little bit more complicated. So down the side, you can see that there's who, doing, what, where, etc., etc. And as you click on each of those, you get a set of cards for that category. So for who, there's like, you could see police officer, Santa Claus, etc. And the main aim is to make the longest, silliest sentence possible. That grammatically makes sense. So each time you drag a card, you can also drag a post-it note to add in any extra words to make that sentence make sense. And you can also record speech each time. So you can speak and record as that sentence is progressing. So that is quite a fun one. Fill gaps is more similar to the original classic version, but instead of dragging cards, you type in the correct option. Obviously, when typing in, there's a wider range of things that could be right or wrong. So there's 3 marking buttons at the bottom corner, so that in case the client types in something that isn't technically right but makes sense, you can still mark it as correct if we automatically mark it incorrect. So that is fill gaps. And then find words. I think Rebecca spoke through this one a little bit earlier. So there's a sentence shown on screen, and you take each of those color-coded highlighters to highlight the correct words in the sentence with that semantic element. After you've done the highlighting, there's also a short comprehension type section where there's brief questions about who was in the story, what were they doing, where were they doing it, things like that, where they just tap the correct card for that to be answered. And then finally, we have sorting. So you get sets of cards keeping appearing on the screen, and you drag them into the correct color-coded post box to mark them as that Colourful Semantics element. You can customize all of these apps. So you can choose the text-to-speech voice, the content language between American and British English, because that spelling can come up a lot. And then activity-wise, you can always choose whether you want the symbols on the cards, whether you just want them to be text, whether you just want them to be symbols. And you can choose which semantic elements you're showing. So you could always start with just who and what, or just one of them, trying to get someone to understand the concept before diving into all 4. And then you can also change the number of questions. So if 10 is too much to start with, you can lower that down to begin. This is what I was talking about earlier. So this is the report that we generate. So you can hear any audio recordings from here, see which ones are right and wrong in the general score. You can screenshot this to store it. There is no sort of progress tracking or anything like that within Colourful Semantics. They're very simple, and that's sort of the way they're designed. So that is me going through all of the Colourful Semantics apps. Very quickly, I'll also cover VocaQuest because it's kind of linked. So this is our wider speech and language therapy platform. So it's a web app and an iPad app. And within this, all of our Colourful Semantics games are available. The difference is within VocaQuest, you can also customize them. So you can create your own activities with your own sets of cards using our templates. And as well as the Colourful Semantics stuff, we also have, I think it's around 6,000 other speech and language therapy activities to choose from. Within VocaQuest, there is that progress tracking that I was saying that Colourful Semantics didn't have. So you store your individual clients, you store their progress, they get their own therapy plan, they get their own login. So it's sort of the Colourful Semantics apps with everything else that you would need. So they're sort of the simplified sibling of VocaQuest. I think that's all I really have. Oh, here's some of the other activities within VocaQuest. So we've got preposition scenes where you can drag an item onto a scene to help practice prepositions, cycles approach, minimal pairs, and then a load of games to try and keep them fun and engaging in the way that we've tried to with the Colourful Semantics apps as well. I think that's all from us. So if there's any questions, it would be good to hear them.
Yeah, please, anyone, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. Thank you, Rebecca and Annie. That was great. I've popped a couple of links into the chat as well there for the links to the App Store. Just while anyone is formulating any questions that they might have, I actually was going to ask, was there any options? And you can obviously add in your post-it notes for any ancillary language. Can they be color coded?
Yeah.
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 Brilliant.
Can be.
Sorry, say that again.
No, I just meant the colours can be chosen as well.
Yeah. And I wondered then if there was an option to add in any of your own photos.
So there wouldn't be for the Colourful Semantics apps, but within VocaQuest,
right,
you can do that.
You can do that in there. Okay. Somebody's just asking there, can you edit the colours of cards? Yeah, because sometimes speech and language therapists in different areas use different colours. So for example, where they are, blue is the what and red is the where.
I don't think we currently allow people to do that, but I'm also not sure we're aware that anyone used different colours. So that would be something that we can definitely think about.
No, and when we first started developing them and liaising with Alice and Brian too, we were very much on the path to stick to the original. So that's why we've stuck with those her colours that she started out with.
Thank you. Yeah, I know when I was starting out using it, and I was doing the cutting up the paper and laminating and using lots of Velcro on my coloured backed paper. There was discussion around blue and red, but where I was, we were using the orange, the yellow, green and blue. So it's interesting that it is different depending which. I think it's probably NHS locations it can differ.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions for Annie and Rebecca? If anybody wanted to have a trial, are there any options for trials?
So there's a free trial. So VocaQuest is purchased through a subscription. So there's a month free trial for VocaQuest, and within that you can look at the Colourful Semantics stuff.
Brilliant.
So if you wanted to just try it for the Colourful Semantics, you could do that.
Yeah, that's always a really good option to then just get a feel for it and actually see with some of the learners that you think it will be appropriate for, and then actually usually find out that it works for lots. Engaging. No, it looks great. I'm definitely going to be having a go. Somebody's asking there, how much is the subscription? How much is it? Is it a monthly subscription or is it an annual?
We have a monthly and yearly. I'm just getting it up because I forget.
Great.
I think VocaQuest is $9.99 a month, $79.99 a year, with 1 month free. But the Colourful Semantics apps are not a subscription, so they're just an upfront purchase.
One-off. Yep.
I don't have that value in front of me.
I think I did actually have a quick look when I was doing there, about £8 or £9, I think.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
something like that each.
Which is pretty reasonable. But as you say, with the VocaQuest, was it six? Did you say 6,000?
Yeah, 6,000
Yeah,
activities. And then you can create as many as of your own on top of
of
that
your own.
as you
Yeah.
want.
So
There's
I
a
would
lot.
say go for the month's trial and see how you get on after that. I think that's a really good way to get a feel for something, isn't it? Any more questions for Annie or Rebecca before we finish off there? Obviously answered all the questions. Nope. Okay, well, that just remains for me to say thank you both to Rebecca and Annie for presenting this afternoon. And I'm sure if you wanted to pop your contact details just into the chat there, if anyone did want to reach out, that would be helpful. We'll be back next week, folks. It will be our last webinar of 2025, which I can't quite believe. I'm going to be joined by my colleague Claire Harrison, and she's going to be looking at options for symbolized learning resources. So what are the options there available? So thank you both for popping your contact details in the chat there. I'll just read them out for the benefit of anyone who's watching the recording. So we've got rbright@therapy-box.co.uk, or we've got support@therapy-box.co.uk as well. Great, thank you, ladies, and thank you to everyone for joining us this afternoon. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.